I want you to imagine yourself as a tree. A beautiful, evergreen, fully grown tree that carries fruits and delicious berries and spring flowers unmatched to any other tree. Now, if you're lucky enough, you'll be planted right here in beautiful British Columbia, in an ecosystem that is so cared for and diverse and supported. But for the sake of this argument, let's pick a different location. Off the top of my head, let's pick Syria. A place where there is a war on trees. There are those who want to cut down all trees, to burn them to ashes, to turn their green leaves to red. There are those who want to eradicate trees. Now, by the power and will of life within you, you pull your roots from the ground in a miraculous gesture, like those trees from Lord of the Rings. You escape that hateful land, the land that you were planted in since you were a mere seed, and you start to walk away. You walk across borders, and you walk across foreign lands to you until you reach a green, beautiful land, just like this one here in BC, and you decide to plant yourself once more. Now, we all know that planting a tree in foreign soil is not easily done. So let's not forget this metaphor for a second, and let me tell you a bit about myself. My name is Danny. Well, not really. My name is Ahmed, but I say Danny. And when I escaped Syria in July 2012, I felt uprooted. It wasn't really a calculated decision for me to actually escape overnight and become the gay Syrian refugee that I am right now. The situation escalated in Syria in the spring and summer of 2012 so much that I had to take that journey. I remember crying on my best friend's shoulder the day that I arrived in Beirut, and he tapped on my shoulder over and over again and told me everything will be fine. But you know, that's actually jumping ahead in the story. So again, name is Danny, Ahmad, Danny, whatever. I was born in 1984 in Damascus, Syria, to a Muslim, conservative, and seriously dysfunctional family. My father, who's a redhead, short-tempered man, I think knew that I was gay since early childhood, so he tried to engage me in what he considered character-building activities. So he got me into aggressive sports, he found me a job at a construction site, and he shoved verses of the Quran down my throat at every corner. But as a child, all I wanted to do was to write poetry and to read books. If I am a tree, and the tree rings that are my soul, the earliest tree ring there is, narrated stories of abandonment, of self-loathing, of disconnect from my family. My biggest connection, however, was with the city of Damascus itself. Damascus, you wouldn't believe. Damascus is a beautiful city covered in jasmine trees. It's dotted with historical sites. It's surrounded by beautiful mountains. This city is 7,000 years old city. And when you walk around the streets, you feel that the Damascene houses are whispering stories to you. You feel that the mosques are echoing hymns of people long lost. I was a seed planted in that country. That land was mine. Arabic, the language, was my water. And summer was my shelter. Winter, it was soul cleansing. In my late teens and early 20s, and due to problems with my family, I had to leave my family's home, and I had to leave all of Syria, actually. My work in journalism took me around the Middle East. I lived in Egypt, in Turkey, in Malaysia, in Lebanon, in Jordan. So in February 2011, I went back to Syria, seeking that sense of belonging, that I so wanted. But I couldn't believe how disconnected I was. You see, people were tired of the economical situation, of the unjust systems, of the Orwellian regime. The winters, they felt locked in. The summers, they felt sad. And the streets, they stopped whispering. But I believe that every tree has a role to play in the ecosystem that it's part of. And I believe that my role was to support the LGBTQ, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and queer community in Syria. And I guess that's when I met Maryam. Now, you would love her when you meet her. When I met her, the minute that I met her, I knew that she was a lesbian. And I mean, my gaydar is above average, but Maryam wasn't hard to figure out at all. But it took us weeks to actually come out to one another. She dropped hints about gay friends of hers, and honestly, I can't stand dropping hints. So I went to her one morning and I whispered, "I'm gay." She responded with a long, loud, "Duh." Now, if Maryam didn't embrace me with love that day, if she actually reported me to the police instead, I would face 3 years in prison, public shaming, and torture. Maryam and I were born to be criminals in the eyes of the Syrian law. We were the outcasts of our own society. And we accepted that role within our society. We navigated the city telling each other over and over again, everything will be fine. Now, by early 2012, the war in Syria has created the everlasting sounds of clashes that really deafened our ears. We escaped our troubles, we escaped all of that into my little apartment because it's a safe place. Now, mind you, when I got it, it was this dark, dirty, ugly space. But Maryam and I, we actually made a home out of it. We made a community around it. I remember picking up my phone and calling a couple of my gay friends, and she called a couple of her lesbian friends. And in that gender-segregated society, those two communities, for the first time, they actually connected. And those people from the community felt that they can actually present their true identities and feel celebrated and loved for who they are. We had a motto, "Friends invite friends," and suddenly we all had a home. If we were trees, that home of ours would have been our greenhouse, connecting us together and shielding us from the elements of the world around us. But it sadly didn't last. Beautiful things never last. A protest broke outside of our home. We heard the shouting and the screaming. We turned off our lights, and they were shooting outside. We felt lonely. Now, I have to be honest with you, that night actually nothing happened. We survived the night. But it was the final night we actually spent in that beautiful home of ours, in that sanctuary of ours. We nomadically traveled around Damascus, reminiscing about the beautiful safety that we felt in that house. And I guess that's where my leap took place. Now, I wasn't an adventurous man jumping in a bungee jump. Somebody actually pushed me, forced me into a free fall. You see, I was arrested at the International Damascus Airport in June 2012. And no one, I promise you, no one ever told me why. Was it the safe home that I created with my friends? Was it my work in journalism on the nonprofit organizations? I honestly don't know. Now, I managed to get out of jail, and overnight, I escaped Syria to Lebanon, becoming the gay Syrian refugee that I am, and crying on my friend's shoulder. And that's when I felt uprooted, like that glorious tree I was telling you about. that's when I felt that I need to find myself a greener land to be part of. So I decided to immigrate here to Canada. I remember that after 2 years of long application processing and fundraising and struggling as a refugee back in Beirut, I finally got that phone call. And I was invited to meet the visa officer at the Canadian Embassy. He looked at me and he smiled. He told me everything. Everything will be fine. He stamped my passport and off I came. Now, this is not the end of my story. A lot of people think that refugees, like a fairy tale, they arrive at Canada and hey, everything is fine, everything is awesome. In reality, it's like planting a tree in foreign soil. It might not wither, the disconnect from its ecosystem or the elements of the new environment that you planted it in. In reality, we are refugees, yes, but we have lived full lives before we came here. Beautiful lives. We had careers and aspirations that we had to leave behind. We had friends and homes that we care for. And yes, we have left the war behind us. But I also left behind me that home of mine. And I left Mariam and all of my friends. I left behind me the normality of speaking in Arabic, a language that is engraved in my head, to somebody else who would understand it right away. I left behind me the taste of food and the smell of things and the traditions and the way the stars look at night. I honestly left behind me the supermarket where I used to buy my cigarettes and flirt with the hot cashier as well, so. And during my first 6 months here, I actually struggled a lot because I wasn't just fighting to establish myself once more, I was actually fighting to change the stereotypical views associated with refugees. You see, without Canadian experience or Canadian education, nobody would give me a job. You see, a lot of people think that we as refugees are going to sit on our hands and spend your tax money. In reality, those folks forget that before we were refugees, we were the doctors and the lawyers and the farmers and the artists and the storytellers. We weren't born refugees. And Syria is not just the war-ridden country full of deserts that you see on TV. It's the place where I wore shorts for the first time. It's the place where I kissed a boy for the first time. It's the oldest inhabited city in the human history. It's the beacon of humanity itself. And honestly, I wouldn't have left it if it was safe for me to stay there. And it's actually hard to stand here and talk to you folks. It's difficult because I'm struggling right now. I'm struggling with my survival's guilt. I feel privileged to be actually standing on this stage, talking to you, all of you, or actually sitting in my apartment overlooking English Bay, watching Netflix, while people that I care for, other LGBTQ folks that are my friends, people I hugged, people I kissed, are still struggling over there with the experience of being refugees. And I guess that's why I do the work that I do. I advocate for the rights of immigration for refugees who identify as LGBTQ from not just Syria, but from the 80 countries in the world where homosexuality and transgenderism are punishable by law. 5 of them, it's punishable by death. Last year, with the support of a group of Canadians, I also sponsored a lesbian woman and her sister to join us here in Canada. And with the help of a local organization here in BC, located in Vancouver, called Rainbow Refugee Society, they are here. Actually, one of them is sitting over there. And you know, you and I were limited. We can't change the world. We can't stop the war in Syria. But we can actually change the world for those people, for my people. You can help by preparing the soil right here for those trees to come and plant themselves. You can help by sponsoring other LGBTQ identified refugees, or refugees in general. You can help by learning about our culture, about the Syrian culture, read our literature, know about our books. Last summer, I was honored to be picked as the Grand Marshal of the Vancouver Gay Pride Parade 2016. I marched with dignity alongside Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, leading that parade. And I honestly felt seen. I felt that my struggles meant something, and that the cause that I care for is not just seen by me and those who talk to me, and that I actually talk to them all the time about it, to the point that they're like, shut up, just shut up. But also by the 400,000 people who were actually watching the parade that day. Today I'm here to tell you that my tree is adjusting. I have a job that I adore in a nonprofit organization called Community in downtown Vancouver. I have a circle of friends that I connect to, that I feel part of. I have a novel coming up next year, The Clothesline Swing. That tree of mine has landed here and rooted itself here. It's bringing flowers unmatched to any other flowers, and its delicious berries are shining with red. So finally, I want you to always remember that immigration is not easily done. I want you to remember that we are not just mere refugees. I want you to remember that when we come here, we bring with us our aspirations and our hopes and our dreams, and we want to share it with you. And I guess the last thought that I want to leave with is a message to those who are still refugees, my people back home, and all the refugees who are struggling still. I'm trying my best to turn Canada into a sanctuary for all of us, just like that beautiful home that we had in Damascus. So believe me when I say everything will be fine. Thank you very much.